My name is Sarah Miller, and I'm 32 years old. I live in a small town called Riverside with my husband Mark and our 6-year-old son, Tommy. For the past 8 years, I've been a stay-at-home mom, taking care of Tommy and our home while Mark worked as a manager at a big company downtown. We weren't rich, but we had enough. Mark always told me we were a team, and I believed him with all my heart. But on that Tuesday afternoon, standing outside my husband's office door with Tommy's small hand in mine and an $80 million check in my purse, everything I believed was about to shatter into a million pieces. I pressed my ear against the cold wooden door of Mark's office. My heart was beating so fast I thought it might jump out of my chest. Tommy looked up at me with his big brown eyes, confused about why Mommy had suddenly frozen like a statue. "Mommy, why are we stopping?" Tommy whispered. I put my finger to my lips, telling him to be quiet. Through the door, I could hear voices. Mark's voice. And another voice. A woman's voice. They were laughing together. "Mark, we can't keep doing this," the woman said. Her voice sounded happy, not worried. "What if someone finds out?" "Nobody will find out," Mark replied. I could hear him moving around. "Sarah never comes to my office. She's always home with Tommy. She doesn't suspect anything." My whole body went cold. My hands started shaking. Tommy squeezed my hand tighter. "Mommy, you're scaring me," Tommy said quietly. The woman laughed again. "You're so sure of yourself. That's what I love about you." "I love you too, Rebecca," Mark said. Those 4 words hit me like a truck. I love you too. The same words he said to me every morning before leaving for work. The same words he whispered to me at night before we fell asleep. I couldn't breathe. The $80 million check in my purse suddenly felt like a joke. What good was all that money if my husband didn't love me anymore? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how this terrible day started, and how I ended up standing outside that door, holding my son's hand, with my whole world falling apart. The day had started like magic. Like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when I got the phone call that changed everything. Well, I thought it changed everything in a good way. I didn't know yet that my life was about to become a nightmare. I was making breakfast for Tommy. Pancakes with chocolate chips, his favorite. The kitchen smelled sweet and warm. Tommy was sitting at the table, swinging his legs back and forth, humming a song from his favorite cartoon. "Mommy, can I have extra syrup today?" Tommy asked with his biggest smile. "We'll see, little man," I said, flipping a pancake in the pan. That's when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. "Hello, is this Mrs. Sarah Miller?" a man's voice asked. "Yes, this is Sarah," I said. "Who's calling?" "Mrs. Miller, my name is James Peterson. I'm calling from Sunrise Insurance Company. I have some very important news for you." My heart skipped a beat. Important news from an insurance company? That couldn't be good. I immediately thought something bad had happened. "What is it? Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Everything is more than okay, Mrs. Miller," Mr. Peterson said. I could hear him smiling through the phone. "I'm calling to inform you that you are the winner of our annual life insurance lottery. You've won $80 million. I almost dropped the phone. "What? That's not possible. I never entered any lottery," I said. "Your husband, Mark Miller, entered both of you into the lottery 6 months ago when he purchased his life insurance policy with us. The drawing was yesterday, and your name was selected. Congratulations, Mrs. Miller. You're now $80 million richer." I had to sit down. My legs felt like jelly. Tommy looked at me with worried eyes. "Mommy, are you okay?" he asked. I nodded at Tommy but couldn't speak. $80 million. $80 million. That was more money than I could even imagine. "Mrs. Miller, are you still there?" Mr. Peterson asked. Yes, I'm here," I said, my voice barely working. "This is real. This isn't a joke. This is absolutely real, Mrs. Miller. We need you to come to our office today to sign some papers and collect your check. Can you come at 2 o'clock this afternoon? Yes. Yes, I can come, I said, maybe too loudly. Tommy jumped a little in his chair. Mr. Peterson gave me the address and told me to bring identification. When I hung up the phone, I just sat there, staring at nothing. Mommy, what happened? Tommy asked, climbing down from his chair and coming over to hug me. I picked him up and spun him around. Tommy, something amazing just happened. We won a lot of money. A lot of money. How much? Tommy asked. So much money that we'll never have to worry about anything ever again, I said, laughing and crying at the same time. The first person I wanted to tell was Mark. My husband. My partner. The man I'd loved since I was 22 years old. I wanted to see his face when I told him. I wanted to celebrate with him. I wanted to plan our new life together. I called Mark's office number, but his secretary, Janet, answered. Miller Holdings, this is Janet speaking, she said in her professional voice. Hi Janet, it's Sarah. Is Mark available? I really need to talk to him. Oh hi, Sarah. Mark is in a meeting right now. Can I have him call you back? No, I'll just come to his office later. What time is his meeting over? He should be free after 3 o'clock, Janet said. Perfect. I'll see him then. Thank you, Janet. I hung up, my heart full of happiness. I spent the rest of the morning imagining all the wonderful things we could do with the money. We could buy a bigger house with a huge backyard for Tommy. We could travel to all the places we'd always dreamed about. We could help Mark's parents, who were struggling with medical bills. We could set up a college fund for Tommy. Most importantly, Mark wouldn't have to work so hard anymore. He'd been working 12-hour days for the past year, trying to get promoted. He always came home tired and stressed. Sometimes he was too tired to even play with Tommy. But now, with $80 million, he could quit that stressful job. We could spend more time together as a family. At 2 o'clock, I dropped Tommy off at my mother's house and went to the insurance company office. Everything Mr. Peterson had said was true. I signed papers, showed my identification, and they handed me a check for $80 million. $80 million. I held that check in my hands and started crying. Mr. Peterson smiled and congratulated me again. He told me that I should deposit it in a bank as soon as possible. But I didn't want to go to the bank. Not yet. First, I wanted to share this moment with Mark. I wanted to surprise him at his office. I picked up Tommy from my mom's house and told him we were going to visit Daddy at work. Can I surprise Daddy? Tommy asked excitedly. Yes, baby. We're going to surprise Daddy with the best news ever, I said. We drove downtown to Mark's office building. It was a tall glass building that always made me feel small. Mark worked on the 15th floor. I'd only been to his office a few times before. He always said it was boring there and that I shouldn't waste my time visiting. But today was special. Today was different. Tommy and I rode the elevator up to the 15th floor. My heart was beating fast with excitement. I kept touching my purse, making sure the check was still there. I couldn't wait to see Mark's face. When the elevator doors opened, I recognized Janet at the front desk. Sarah. What a surprise. Janet said, smiling. And Tommy. You've gotten so big. Hi, Miss Janet. Tommy said, waving. Is Mark still in his meeting? I asked. Janet looked confused. Meeting? Oh no, his meeting ended an hour ago. He should be in his office. Perfect. We're going to surprise him, I said, taking Tommy's hand. I walked down the hallway toward Mark's office. My hands were shaking with excitement. I couldn't wait to see his reaction. Would he scream? Would he cry? Would he pick me up and spin me around? As we got closer to his office, I could hear voices inside. Mark's voice, and another voice. A woman's voice. At first, I thought maybe he had a client in there. But then I heard them laughing together. It sounded intimate. Too friendly. I stopped walking. Tommy bumped into me. "Mommy," he said. I put my hand on the door, about to knock. But something made me stop. Something in my gut told me to listen first. That's when I pressed my ear against the door. That's when I heard the words that destroyed me. "Mark, we can't keep doing this. What if someone finds out?" "Nobody will find out. Sarah never comes to my office. She's always home with Tommy. She doesn't suspect anything." The woman laughed. "You're so sure of yourself. That's what I love about you." "I love you too, Rebecca." I stood there, frozen. Tommy was pulling on my hand, asking me questions, but I couldn't hear him. All I could hear was my heart breaking. Then I heard more. "When are you going to tell her?" Rebecca asked. "Tell her what?" Mark said. "About us. About wanting a divorce." "Soon," Mark said. "I'm just waiting for the right time. I don't want to hurt her too badly." A divorce. Mark wanted a divorce. And he was in love with someone named Rebecca. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Who was Rebecca? How could I have been so blind? I looked down at Tommy. His innocent face was looking up at me, confused and scared. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew something was wrong. I had to get out of there. I couldn't let Mark see me like this. I couldn't let him know I'd heard everything. But my body wouldn't move. I was stuck, like my feet were glued to the floor. Then I heard footsteps inside the office. They were coming toward the door. "Let me just check if Janet left those files outside," Mark's voice said. The door handle started to turn. My heart stopped beating. In 3 seconds, that door would open. In 3 seconds, Mark would see me standing there with Tommy, having heard everything. In 3 seconds, my life would explode. I grabbed Tommy and pulled him around the corner, just as the door opened. We hid behind a large plant in the hallway. I covered Tommy's mouth with my hand and held my breath. I peeked around the plant and saw Mark standing in his doorway. He looked both ways down the hallway, then went back inside and closed the door. Tommy pulled my hand away from his mouth. "Mommy, what's wrong? Why are we hiding from Daddy?" I looked at my son. His beautiful, innocent son. Mark's son. How could Mark do this to us? How could he want to leave us for another woman? The check in my purse felt heavy now. $80 million. A fortune. But what good was it if my husband didn't love me anymore? Then something changed inside me. Something dark and angry woke up. Mark didn't know about the money yet. He wanted to divorce me? Fine. But he wouldn't get a single penny of that $80 million. Not one penny. I stood up, taking Tommy's hand. "Come on, baby. We're going home." "But what about Daddy?" Tommy asked. "Daddy is busy right now," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We'll see him later." We walked back to the elevator. Every step felt heavy. My mind was spinning with thoughts, plans, anger, hurt, and questions. As the elevator doors closed, I looked back at Mark's office door one more time. He had no idea what was coming. He had no idea that the wife he thought was stupid and clueless had just heard everything. He had no idea that I was now worth $80 million. And most importantly, he had no idea that I was about to make sure he regretted ever betraying me. The elevator went down, down, down. But my anger was going up, up, up. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. In fact, this was just the beginning. I drove home in complete silence. Tommy kept asking me questions from the back seat, but I couldn't answer him. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight that my knuckles turned white. "Mommy, why didn't we see Daddy?" Tommy asked for the 5th time. "Daddy was busy, sweetheart," I said, trying to sound normal. But my voice came out strange and broken. Are you sad, Mommy? That question made tears start rolling down my cheeks. I quickly wiped them away before Tommy could see. No, baby. Mommy is just thinking about some grown-up stuff. When we got home, I told Tommy to go play in his room. He looked worried, but he obeyed. As soon as he was upstairs, I collapsed on the couch and let myself cry. Really cry. Big, ugly tears poured down my face. My whole body was shaking. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach and I couldn't breathe properly. Mark didn't love me anymore. Mark wanted a divorce. Mark was in love with someone named Rebecca. How long had this been going on? Weeks. Months. Years. I thought about all the late nights Mark said he was working. All the business trips he took. All the times he said he was too tired to talk or spend time with me. Had he been with her? With Rebecca? Who was she? Was she prettier than me? Smarter than me? Funnier than me? What did she have that I didn't have? I felt stupid. So incredibly stupid. Everyone always says the wife is the last to know, and it was true. I had been completely blind. Then I remembered the check in my purse. I pulled it out and stared at it. $80 million. The numbers looked fake, like something from a movie. My phone rang. It was Mark. My heart jumped. Should I answer? What would I say? I couldn't let him know that I knew about Rebecca. Not yet. I needed time to think. Time to plan. I took a deep breath and answered, trying to make my voice sound normal. Hi, honey, I said. The word, honey, tasted like poison in my mouth. Hey, babe. Janet just told me you stopped by the office. I'm so sorry I missed you. Was everything okay? Mark said. His voice sounded so normal, so loving. Like he wasn't a cheater. Like he wasn't planning to divorce me. Oh yes. Everything is fine. I wanted to surprise you, but you seemed busy, so I left, I said. Busy. I wasn't busy. Why didn't you come in? He asked. My mind raced. I heard you talking to someone. It sounded like an important meeting, so I didn't want to interrupt. Oh. Yeah, that was just Rebecca from accounting. She had some questions about the budget. Nothing important. You should have knocked, Mark said. Rebecca from accounting. So that's who she was. Someone who worked in the same building as my husband. Someone he saw every single day. It's okay. We can talk when you get home, I said. Actually, I'm going to be late tonight. I have to work on a big project. Don't wait up for me, okay? Work on a big project. Right. More like work on Rebecca. Okay, I said quietly. Love you, babe. Mark said cheerfully. Love you too, I lied. When I hung up, I felt sick. How could he lie so easily? How could he say he loved me when he was planning to leave me for another woman? I looked at the check again. An idea started forming in my mind. A dark, angry idea. Mark didn't know about this money. And I wasn't going to tell him. Not now. Maybe not ever. I got up and went to my computer. I started searching for information about divorce laws in our state. What I found made my anger grow even stronger. In our state, any money or property earned during the marriage was considered marital property. That meant Mark would be entitled to half of everything, even the lottery winnings. Even though he was a cheater. Even though he wanted to leave me. But there was a loophole. If I could prove that Mark had been unfaithful, I might be able to get a better settlement. Maybe even keep most of the money. I needed proof. I needed evidence of Mark's affair with Rebecca. I spent the next 2 hours researching. I learned about private investigators, about collecting evidence, about divorce attorneys. I took notes on everything. Tommy came downstairs around 6 o'clock, asking for dinner. I made him chicken nuggets and French fries, but I couldn't eat anything myself. My stomach was twisted in knots. "Mommy, you're not eating," Tommy said, looking at me with concerned eyes. "Mommy's not hungry right now, baby," I said, trying to smile at him. "Is Daddy coming home soon?" "Not tonight, sweetheart. Daddy has to work late." Tommy looked sad. "Daddy is always working late now." Those words hit me hard. Even Tommy had noticed. Mark was spending less and less time with us. He was pulling away, getting ready to leave us. And I had been too blind to see it. After Tommy went to bed, I sat in the living room, waiting. The house felt empty and cold. I kept replaying the conversation I'd heard outside Mark's office, over and over in my mind. When are you going to tell her? About us. About wanting a divorce. Soon. I'm just waiting for the right time. So he was planning it. Actually planning to destroy our family. To break Tommy's heart. To throw away 8 years of marriage like it meant nothing. Around 11 o'clock, I heard Mark's car pull into the driveway. I quickly turned off the lights and pretended to be asleep on the couch. The front door opened. Mark came in quietly, trying not to make noise. I watched him through barely open eyes. He took off his shoes, hung up his coat, and then checked his phone. He smiled at something on the screen. Was he texting Rebecca? Was he telling her how much he missed her? How he couldn't wait to leave his stupid wife? Mark started walking toward the living room. I quickly closed my eyes completely, pretending to be asleep. "Sarah," he whispered. I didn't respond. I kept my breathing slow and steady, like I was sleeping. I felt him put a blanket over me. Then he kissed my forehead. "Good night, babe," he whispered. That kiss felt like a betrayal. How could he kiss me when he was in love with someone else? How could he touch me when he'd been touching Rebecca? After Mark went upstairs, I opened my eyes. I couldn't sleep in the same bed as him. Not tonight. Not after what I knew. So I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with plans. The next morning, I woke up to Tommy jumping on the couch. "Mommy. Mommy. Wake up. Why did you sleep down here?" I sat up, my neck hurting from the awkward position. "I fell asleep watching TV, honey." Mark came downstairs, already dressed for work. He looked at me with concern. "Are you okay? You look exhausted," he said. "I'm fine," I said, not looking at him. "You sure? You seem different," Mark said. My heart started beating fast. Could he tell that something was wrong? Could he sense that I knew his secret? "I'm just tired," I said. "I didn't sleep well." Mark came over and tried to hug me, but I pulled away slightly. It was instinct. I couldn't help it. He noticed. "Sarah, what's wrong?" "Nothing. I just need some coffee," I said, walking to the kitchen. Mark followed me. "Are you mad at me about something?" "Yes." I wanted to scream. "I'm mad that you're cheating on me. I'm mad that you want to divorce me. I'm mad that you're throwing away our family." But I couldn't say any of that. Not yet. "No, Mark. I'm not mad. I'm just tired," I repeated. Mark looked at his watch. "Okay, well, I have to go to work. We'll talk tonight, okay?" "Sure," I said. He kissed my cheek and headed for the door. "Love you." I didn't say it back. He didn't seem to notice. After Mark left, I got Tommy ready for school. My mind was working on a plan. I needed to find out more about this Rebecca woman. I needed proof of the affair. After dropping Tommy at school, I did something I never thought I would do. I drove back to Mark's office building. I knew Mark's schedule by heart. Every Tuesday morning, he had a meeting with his boss from 9 to 10:30. That meant he wouldn't be in his office. I parked across the street and waited. At 9:15, I saw Mark walk out of the building with an older man in a suit. His boss. They walked toward a coffee shop down the street. Perfect. I got out of my car and went into Mark's building. Janet was at the front desk, like always. Sarah. Back again. Janet said, smiling. I had prepared a lie. Yes. Mark forgot his lunch at home. Can I just run up and leave it on his desk? Of course. Go right ahead, Janet said. I took the elevator to the 15th floor. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. What was I doing? This was crazy. But I had to know the truth. I had to find evidence. Mark's office door was unlocked. I slipped inside and closed it behind me. The office looked normal. Desk, computer, filing cabinets, bookshelf. Some family photos of me and Tommy on his desk. Looking at those photos made me want to cry. Were we just decorations to him now? Just props to make him look like a good family man? I didn't have much time. Mark's meeting would be over in an hour. I started looking through his desk drawers. Papers, pens, files. Nothing interesting. Then I opened the bottom drawer and found something. A phone. Not Mark's regular phone. A second phone. My hands started shaking as I picked it up. Why would Mark have a secret phone? The phone wasn't locked. I turned it on and my heart sank. Text messages. Hundreds of text messages between Mark and someone named R. I started reading them, and each one felt like a knife in my heart. Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. I miss you already. You make me so happy. I wish I could spend every night with you. Soon we'll be together forever. There were pictures too. Pictures of Mark and Rebecca together. Kissing. Holding hands. Smiling at the camera like a real couple. Rebecca was beautiful. Long blonde hair, perfect smile, young and thin. Everything I wasn't. The messages went back 6 months. 6 months. Mark had been lying to me for half a year. I felt like I was going to throw up. But I kept looking. I needed to see everything. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A message from 2 weeks ago. Mark, I'm going to tell Sarah about us next month. I just need to wait for the right time. Rebecca, are you sure? What if she makes things difficult? Mark, she won't. Sarah is too soft. She'll probably just cry and accept it. She has no family money, no real job. She needs me more than I need her. I read that message 3 times. She needs me more than I need her. That's what Mark thought of me. That I was weak. That I needed him. That I would just cry and accept being thrown away. Something inside me snapped. All my sadness turned into pure, white-hot anger. Mark had no idea who he was dealing with. He thought I was just a weak little housewife who would roll over and let him destroy our family. He thought I would beg him to stay. But I had $80 million. I had power now. And I was going to make sure Mark regretted every single lie he'd told me. I took out my own phone and started taking pictures. Pictures of every text message. Pictures of every photo of Mark and Rebecca together. Evidence. Proof. I was so focused on taking pictures that I didn't hear the office door open behind me. What the hell are you doing? I spun around. Mark was standing in the doorway, his face red with anger. His boss was behind him, looking confused. I was caught. Holding his secret phone. Surrounded by evidence of his affair. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The whole world seemed to freeze. Then Mark saw what was in my hands. His secret phone. He understood what I'd found. Sarah. He said, his voice shaking. I can explain. Explain. I said, my voice coming out stronger than I expected. Explain what, Mark? Explain why you have a secret phone. Explain why you've been lying to me for 6 months. Explain why you're planning to divorce me. Mark's boss looked extremely uncomfortable. I think I should leave you two alone, he said, backing out of the office quickly. As soon as the door closed, Mark rushed toward me. Sarah, give me that phone. But something had changed inside me. I wasn't the same weak woman he thought I was. Not anymore. I held the phone behind my back. No. Sarah, this isn't what it looks like. Really? I interrupted him. My voice was cold now. So you're not having an affair with Rebecca from accounting? You're not planning to divorce me? You don't think I'm too soft and weak to fight back? Mark's face went white. You read my messages. Every single one, I said. 6 months, Mark. 6 months of lies. 6 months of you pretending to love me while you were with her. Mark ran his hands through his hair. He looked panicked, like a trapped animal. Sarah, please. Let me explain. It's complicated. Complicated. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was bitter and angry. What's complicated about cheating on your wife? What's complicated about lying to your son? Don't bring Tommy into this, Mark said. Tommy is already in this. I shouted. You're his father. You're supposed to love him. You're supposed to love us. But you're ready to throw us away for some woman you met at work. Mark stepped closer to me. His face changed from panicked to angry. You want to know the truth, Sarah? Fine. I'll tell you the truth. Please do, I said, crossing my arms. I haven't been happy for years. Mark yelled. Years. Do you know what it's like coming home every day to the same boring routine? The same conversations? The same life. Each word felt like a slap in the face. You never wanted to do anything exciting, Mark continued. You never wanted to go out. You were always just there, being a mom, being a housewife. But what about being a wife to me? What about being interesting? Being fun? Tears started rolling down my face, but I was too angry to wipe them away. I was raising your son. I was taking care of our home. I was being a mother. And that's all you were. Mark shouted. You stopped being Sarah. You became just Tommy's mom. You stopped caring about how you looked. You stopped doing your hair. You stopped wearing makeup. You just gave up. I gave up. I said quietly, dangerously quiet. I gave up everything for you, Mark. I gave up my job. I gave up my friends. I gave up my dreams. Also, you could have the perfect little housewife at home while you worked on your big career. Nobody asked you to do that. Mark said. Yes, you did. I screamed. When I got pregnant with Tommy, you said it would be better if I stayed home. You said we didn't need 2 incomes. You said you wanted me to focus on our family. That was 8 years ago, Sarah. Things change. People change. You certainly did, I said. You changed into a liar. A cheater. Someone I don't even recognize anymore. Mark sat down in his office chair. He looked tired suddenly. I didn't want to hurt you. That's why I waited. I was trying to find the right way to tell you. The right way? I asked. Is there a right way to tell your wife that you don't love her anymore? Mark looked up at me. I'm sorry, Sarah. I really am. But I can't keep living a lie. I love Rebecca. She makes me feel alive again. She makes me feel like myself. Those words hurt more than anything else he'd said. Mark loved Rebecca. Really loved her. This wasn't just a mistake or a moment of weakness. He had fallen in love with someone else. I felt like my heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. But I couldn't let Mark see how much he'd hurt me. I had to be strong. When were you planning to tell me? I asked. Next month, Mark said quietly. After we got back from my business trip to Chicago. I was going to ask for a divorce. A divorce, I repeated. The word felt strange in my mouth. Sarah, I'll make sure you and Tommy are taken care of, Mark said. I'll pay child support. You can have the house. We'll split everything fairly. Split everything fairly. That's when I remembered the check in my car. $80 million. Money that Mark didn't know about yet. My mind started working fast. If I told Mark about the lottery winnings now, he would be entitled to half. That's how divorce laws worked. Even though he was a cheater, even though he wanted to leave me, he would get $40 million. But if I didn't tell him, if I kept it secret, I need some time to think, I said. Of course, Mark said. He actually looked relieved. Like he was happy I wasn't making a big scene. Take all the time you need. I'm taking Tommy and staying at my mother's house, I said. Mark nodded. That's probably a good idea. Some space will help us both think clearly. I walked toward the door, still holding his secret phone. Sarah, I need that phone back, Mark said. No, I said simply. Sarah, please. Sue me, I said, opening the door. Oh wait, you're already planning to divorce me. I guess you'll see me in court. I walked out of Mark's office with my head held high. But as soon as I got to the elevator, my legs started shaking. I had to lean against the wall to keep from falling down. What had just happened? My entire life had just exploded. 8 years of marriage, gone. The man I loved, in love with someone else. Everything I thought I knew, a lie. Janet looked at me with concern as I walked past her desk. My face must have looked terrible because she stood up quickly. Sarah, are you okay? What happened? I'm fine, Janet, I lied. Just fine. I practically ran to my car. As soon as I got inside, I locked the doors and let myself cry. Really cry. The kind of crying that makes your whole body shake. But then I looked at my purse on the passenger seat. Inside that purse was a check for $80 million. Mark thought I was weak. He thought I needed him. He thought I would just accept being thrown away. But he was wrong. So wrong. I wiped my tears and started my car. I had things to do. Important things. First, I drove straight to the bank. The same bank where Mark and I had our joint account. I asked to speak to a manager. A woman in a professional suit greeted me. Hello, I'm Mrs. Anderson. How can I help you today? I need to open a new account, I said. A private account. Just in my name. Of course, Mrs. Anderson said, smiling. Let's go to my office. 10 minutes later, I had a brand new bank account that Mark knew nothing about. An account with $80 million in it. Mrs. Anderson's eyes got very wide when she saw the check. Mrs. Miller, this is a very large amount of money. You'll want to speak with our investment team about. Not yet, I said. Right now, I just need this money somewhere safe. Somewhere private. I understand, Mrs. Anderson said. This account will be completely confidential. Perfect. Next, I went to pick up Tommy from school early. When his teacher brought him to the office, he looked worried. Mommy, is something wrong? Tommy asked. We're going on a little trip to Grandma's house, I said, trying to sound cheerful. Is Daddy coming too? No, baby. Just us for now. Tommy's face fell. Is Daddy mad at us? That question broke my heart. No, sweetheart. Daddy's not mad at you. Daddy loves you very much. Even if he doesn't love me anymore, I thought. We drove to my mother's house. Mom lived in a small cottage about 30 minutes away. When she opened the door and saw my face, she knew immediately that something was wrong. Sarah, what happened? Mom asked, pulling me into a hug. Can Tommy watch TV in the other room? I asked quietly. Mom nodded and took Tommy to the living room, turning on his favorite cartoons. Then she came back to the kitchen where I was sitting. Tell me everything, Mom said. So I did. I told her about going to Mark's office, about overhearing him with Rebecca, about the secret phone, about the confrontation, everything. Mom's face got angrier and angrier as I talked. When I finished, She slammed her hand on the table. That bastard, Mom said. How dare he? After everything you've done for him. Mom, there's more, I said. I haven't told you the biggest part yet. I told her about the lottery. About the $80 million. About the secret bank account. Mom's mouth fell open. 80 million? Yes, I said. And Mark doesn't know about it. Mom grabbed my hands. Sarah, listen to me very carefully. Do not tell Mark about that money. Not until you have a good lawyer. Not until you have everything figured out. I won't, I said. But Mom, what do I do now? How do I survive this? Mom looked at me with fierce love in her eyes. You survive it by being strong. You survive it by fighting for yourself and for Tommy. And you survive it by making sure that cheating husband of yours doesn't get away with this. But I'm not strong, I said, my voice breaking. Mark was right. I'm just a housewife. I'm nobody. Stop that right now, Mom said firmly. You are not nobody. You are my daughter. You are Tommy's mother. You are smart and kind and brave. And now you are also very, very rich. Mark has no idea what's coming for him. I took a deep breath. Mom was right. I had spent 8 years being what Mark wanted me to be. Quiet. Obedient. Boring. But that Sarah was gone now. I need a lawyer, I said. The best divorce lawyer in the state. Mom smiled. That's my girl. That evening, after Tommy went to bed, I sat in Mom's kitchen making phone calls. I called 5 different law firms, asking about divorce lawyers. The last lawyer I spoke to was named Catherine Wright. Her secretary said she was the best divorce attorney in the state. She'd never lost a case. I need an appointment as soon as possible, I told the secretary. Mrs. Wright is very busy, but she might have an opening tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Can you tell me what this is regarding? Divorce, I said. My husband has been having an affair. I have evidence. And I have assets that need to be protected. Assets? The secretary asked. Significant assets, I said. $80 million worth of assets. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Then, Mrs. Wright will definitely see you tomorrow at 3. Don't be late. I hung up and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. My phone buzzed. A text message from Mark. Sarah, we need to talk. Please come home. We can work this out. I still care about you. We can go to couples therapy. Maybe we can save our marriage. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me, the old Sarah, the weak Sarah, wanted to believe him. Wanted to run back home and pretend everything was fine. But then I remembered Rebecca. I remembered 6 months of lies. I remembered Mark saying I needed him more than he needed me. I texted back, "It's too late for that." Mark called immediately. I didn't answer. He called 5 more times. Then he started texting. "Sarah, please. I made a mistake. I'll end things with Rebecca. Please give me another chance. Think about Tommy. Think about our family." Each message made me angrier. Now he wanted to save our marriage. Now he cared. Only because he got caught. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered it. "Hello. Hi, is this Sarah?" A woman's voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" "This is Rebecca. I think we should talk." My blood went cold. Rebecca. Mark's mistress was calling me. How did she even get my number? "How dare you call me?" I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I know you're upset, but please listen," Rebecca said. "Mark told me what happened. He's devastated. He really does love you, Sarah. He's just confused right now." "Confused?" I said. "He's been sleeping with you for 6 months. That's not confused. That's cheating." "It's not like that," Rebecca said. Our relationship is complicated. There are things you don't understand about Mark. About what he needs. About what makes him happy. What makes him happy? I repeated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You mean you make him happy? Yes, Rebecca said simply. I do. And I think if you really loved Mark, you would want him to be happy. Even if that means letting him go. Something in her voice, the arrogance, the confidence, made me snap. You think you know my husband? I said. You think 6 months of sneaking around makes you understand him better than 8 years of marriage? Sometimes it does, Rebecca said. Sometimes the person you become in a marriage isn't who you really are. You know what? I said. You can have him. You can have Mark. You can have his lies and his excuses and his cheating heart. Because I'm done. So you'll give him a divorce? Rebecca asked. She sounded happy. Victorious. Oh, I'll give him a divorce, I said. But he's going to regret ever crossing me. Tell Mark he'd better get a good lawyer. Because I'm about to make his life very, very difficult. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I felt powerful. Strong. Angry in a good way. Mom came into the kitchen. Who was that? Rebecca, I said. The other woman. What did she want? To tell me I should let Mark go if I really loved him, I said. Mom's face turned red with anger. The nerve of that. It's okay, Mom, I said, cutting her off. Because tomorrow, I'm meeting with the best divorce lawyer in the state. And then Mark and Rebecca are going to learn something important. What's that? Mom asked. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who was done being pushed around. Done being underestimated. Done being weak. They're going to learn that you should never, ever mess with a woman who has nothing left to lose. Especially when that woman just became worth $80 million. The next morning, I woke up in my childhood bedroom at Mom's house. For just a second, I forgot everything that had happened. Then it all came rushing back. Mark. Rebecca. The affair. The divorce. I looked at my phone. 23 missed calls from Mark. 15 text messages. He was panicking now. Good. I deleted all his messages without reading them. Tommy came running into my room, jumping on the bed. Mommy. Grandma is making pancakes. I hugged him tight. That sounds wonderful, baby. When are we going home? Tommy asked. I don't know yet, sweetheart. We might stay with Grandma for a while. But what about Daddy? Doesn't he miss us? My heart ached. Tommy had no idea what was happening. He didn't know his father was a cheater. He didn't know our family was falling apart. Daddy is very busy with work right now, I said, trying to smile. After breakfast, Mom offered to watch Tommy while I went to meet the lawyer. I got dressed in my nicest outfit, a blue dress and heels. I wanted to look professional. Strong. Not like a weak housewife. Catherine Wright's office was in a tall building downtown. The fancy kind with marble floors and expensive art on the walls. Her secretary led me to a huge office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Catherine Wright was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked like someone who didn't take nonsense from anyone. Mrs. Miller, please sit down, she said, shaking my hand firmly. I sat in the leather chair across from her desk. My hands were shaking a little. My secretary said you have an interesting case, Catherine said. Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out. So I told her the whole story. Starting from winning the lottery, going to Mark's office, discovering the affair, the secret phone, the confrontation, everything. Catherine took notes the whole time. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and smiled. Mrs. Miller, I'm going to be honest with you. This is the kind of case lawyers dream about. Why? I asked. Because we have everything we need to destroy your husband in court, Catherine said. You have proof of his affair. You have text messages, photos, evidence of his intent to divorce you. And most importantly, you have $80 million that he doesn't know about. Can I keep the money? I asked. Will the court make me share it with Mark? Catherine smiled wider. That's where things get interesting. Normally, any assets acquired during a marriage are considered marital property. But there are exceptions. What kind of exceptions? In this state, if one spouse commits adultery, the innocent spouse can sometimes get a more favorable settlement. We can argue that Mark doesn't deserve half of your lottery winnings because of his infidelity. We might be able to keep most of the money for you and Tommy. Hope bloomed in my chest. Really? But we have to be smart about this, Catherine said. We need to file for divorce first, before Mark realizes you have the money. Once we file, we establish the date of separation. Any assets you had before that date are part of the marital property, but we can fight for a bigger share based on his adultery. When should we file? I asked. Today, Catherine said. Right now. I'll have my assistant draw up the papers immediately. My heart started racing. Today. That's so fast. Speed is important, Mrs. Miller. The longer we wait, the more chance Mark has to figure out you have money. Has he asked you about finances lately? Has he questioned where you've been? I thought about it. No. He's been too busy trying to apologize and save our marriage. Perfect, Catherine said. That means he's off balance. Emotional. Not thinking clearly. That's when we strike. I took a deep breath. Okay. Let's do it. For the next 2 hours, Catherine and I went through everything. She asked me questions about our marriage, our finances, our property, everything we owned. I told her about our house, our cars, our savings account. That's it? Catherine asked. Just the house and one savings account with $20,000? Yes, I said. Mark always handled the money. He said I didn't need to worry about it. Catherine frowned. That's a red flag. Let me ask you something. Has Mark had access to family money? Inheritance? Business investments you might not know about? His parents gave us money for the down payment on our house, I said. But that was 8 years ago. Why? Because in my experience, when a man is confident enough to have an affair and plan a divorce, he usually has financial security. He's not worried about money. Which makes me wonder if Mark has assets you don't know about. That thought made my stomach twist. How would we find out? We'll subpoena his financial records once we file for divorce, Catherine said. Bank statements, tax returns, everything. If he's hiding money, we'll find it. Catherine's assistant came in with a thick stack of papers. The divorce petition is ready, Mrs. Wright. Perfect, Catherine said. She turned to me. Sarah, this is it. Once you sign these papers, there's no going back. Your marriage to Mark will be over. Are you absolutely sure? I thought about Mark. About the man I'd loved for 8 years. About the father of my son. About our wedding day, when he'd promised to love me forever. Then I thought about Rebecca. About 6 months of lies. About Mark saying I needed him more than he needed me. I picked up the pen. I'm sure. I signed the divorce papers. Catherine smiled. Welcome to your new life, Sarah. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, the divorce papers had been officially filed with the court. Catherine said a process server would deliver them to Mark at his office the next morning. What happens when he gets them? I asked. He'll probably call you immediately, Catherine said. He'll be angry, confused, maybe even threatening. But here's what you do. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing, Catherine repeated. Don't answer his calls. Don't respond to his texts. Don't talk to him at all. From now on, all communication goes through me. Understood. I nodded. Understood. Good. Now, there's one more thing we need to discuss, Catherine said. Her face got serious. Mark doesn't know about the $80 million yet. But he will find out eventually. When he does, he's going to fight hard to get half of it. Can he? He'll try, Catherine said. His lawyers will argue that you won the lottery while you were still married, so it's marital property. Our job is to prove that his adultery disqualifies him from getting an equal share. What if we lose? I asked. The thought of giving Mark $40 million made me sick. We won't lose, Catherine said confidently. I've never lost a case, Sarah. And I don't plan to start now. I left Catherine's office feeling lighter than I had in days. I was fighting back. I was taking control of my life. When I got back to Mom's house, Tommy was in the backyard playing. Mom was in the kitchen making dinner. How did it go? Mom asked. I filed for divorce, I said. Mom hugged me tight. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. That night, I tried to act normal for Tommy's sake. We ate dinner together, played board games, and I read him a bedtime story. But my mind was racing, thinking about tomorrow. Thinking about Mark getting served with divorce papers. Around 9 o'clock, my phone started ringing. It was Mark. Again. I didn't answer. He called 3 more times, then sent a text. Sarah, please. We need to talk about this. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid? I'd already done it. I'd filed for divorce. And tomorrow, he was going to find out. I tried to sleep, but I kept waking up every hour, checking my phone. Finally, around 7 in the morning, I gave up and got out of bed. Mom was already awake, making coffee. Couldn't sleep either, she asked. No, I said. I keep thinking about Mark getting the papers today. When will that happen? Mom asked. Catherine said the process server would go to his office at 9 o'clock. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30. 1.5 hours until Mark's life exploded. At 8:45, my phone started ringing. It was Janet, Mark's secretary. Why would Janet be calling me? I answered. Hello. Sarah. Oh my God, Sarah. Janet was crying. Something terrible has happened. My heart stopped. What? What happened? It's Mark, Janet sobbed. He collapsed in his office this morning. An ambulance just took him to Memorial Hospital. You need to get there right now. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered on the floor. Mark collapsed. Mark was in the hospital? Mom grabbed my shoulders. Sarah, what happened? It's Mark, I said, my voice shaking. He's in the hospital. Something's wrong. Mom grabbed her car keys. Come on. We need to go. We dropped Tommy at Mom's neighbor's house and then drove to Memorial Hospital as fast as we could. My mind was spinning. What happened to Mark? Was he okay? Was this my fault for filing for divorce? When we got to the hospital, I ran to the front desk. Mark Miller. He was brought in by ambulance. Where is he? The nurse checked her computer. He's in the emergency room. Are you family? I'm his wife, I said. The nurse's face got serious. Come with me. She led me through a maze of hallways to the emergency room. There were doctors and nurses rushing around. I saw Mark on a bed, surrounded by medical equipment. His eyes were closed. He looked pale. Really pale. A doctor came over to me. Are you Mrs. Miller? Yes. What happened? Is he okay? The doctor looked grave. Your husband suffered a massive heart attack. We're doing everything we can, but I have to be honest with you. It's very serious. The next few hours are critical. A heart attack. Mark was only 35 years old. How could he have a heart attack? Can I see him? I asked. Yes, but only for a moment. He's unconscious right now. I walked over to Mark's bed. He looked so small and helpless. All the anger I felt toward him disappeared for a moment. This was still the man I'd loved. The father of my son. I took his hand. Mark. Can you hear me? It's Sarah. He didn't respond. The machines around him beeped steadily. A nurse touched my shoulder. Mrs. Miller, we need to take him for emergency surgery now. Surgery? I asked. He has a blockage in his heart, the doctor explained. We need to operate immediately or he might not make it. Might not make it. Those words hit me like a truck. Do whatever you need to do, I said. Save him. Please. They wheeled Mark away on the bed. I stood there, frozen, watching him disappear down the hallway. Mom came over and hugged me. He'll be okay, Sarah. Mark is strong. But I couldn't stop shaking. What if Mark died? What if the stress of everything, the affair, getting caught, me filing for divorce, what if it all caused this heart attack? What if I killed my husband? I sat down in the waiting room, my head in my hands. Minutes felt like hours. Mom sat next to me, holding my hand. Then I heard a voice. Sarah. I looked up. Rebecca was standing there. Mark's mistress. The other woman. She looked terrible. Her makeup was smeared from crying. Her hair was a mess. What are you doing here? I asked. I heard about Mark, Rebecca said. I came as soon as I could. Is he going to be okay? Something inside me snapped. You have a lot of nerve showing up here. I care about him, Rebecca said. I love him. You love him. I stood up, my voice getting louder. You love him so much that you helped him destroy his family? You love him so much that you called me to tell me I should let him go. Other people in the waiting room were staring at us now, but I didn't care. You don't understand, Rebecca said. Mark and I have something special. Mark is fighting for his life in there. I shouted. And you know what? This is your fault. If he hadn't been stressed about the affair, about lying, about trying to leave his family, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Rebecca's face went white. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? Get out. Get out of this hospital right now. You have no right to be here. I have every right. I love him. Rebecca insisted. You're not his wife. You're not his family. You're just the woman who helped him cheat. Now get out. Security guards started walking toward us. One of them spoke to Rebecca. Ma'am, you need to leave. Rebecca looked at me with tears in her eyes. If something happens to Mark, I'll never forgive you. If something happens to Mark, I said coldly, I'll never forgive you. The security guards escorted Rebecca out of the hospital. I sat back down, my whole body shaking. Mom rubbed my back. You did the right thing. But I didn't feel right. I felt terrible. Guilty. Scared. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Then 4. No news from the doctors. At 1 o'clock, a surgeon finally came out. His face was tired and serious. Mrs. Miller? I jumped up. Yes. How is he? The surgeon took a deep breath. The surgery was successful. We cleared the blockage. But your husband is in critical condition. He's in a medically induced coma right now. The next 48 hours will tell us if he's going to recover. Can I see him? I asked. Yes, but he won't be able to respond. He's unconscious. The surgeon led me to the intensive care unit. Mark was in a private room, hooked up to so many machines. Tubes and wires everywhere. The steady beep of the heart monitor was the only sound. I sat down next to his bed and took his hand again. It felt cold. Mark, I whispered. I don't know if you can hear me, but I need you to fight. Tommy needs you. Whatever happened between us, whatever mistakes we made, Tommy still needs his father. Tears rolled down my face. You're a terrible husband. You're a liar and a cheater. But you're still Tommy's dad. So you have to wake up. You have to fight. Do you hear me? You have to fight. The machines kept beeping. Mark didn't move. I stayed there for hours, just holding his hand, watching him breathe with the help of machines. Around 5 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Catherine Wright, my lawyer. Sarah, I heard about Mark. I'm so sorry. But we have a problem. Mark's lawyer just contacted me. Apparently, Mark has a will. If he dies, everything goes to Rebecca, not you. We need to talk immediately. I stared at that text message, my blood running cold. Mark had changed his will. He was planning to give everything to Rebecca, which meant if Mark died, I would get nothing. Tommy would get nothing. And Rebecca would get everything. I stood up so fast that the chair fell over. My heart was pounding. Mark had changed his will. Everything would go to Rebecca if he died. I called Catherine immediately. Catherine, what is this about a will? I asked, my voice shaking. Sarah, where are you right now? Catherine asked. At the hospital. With Mark. Stay there. I'm coming to you. We need to talk face to face. Don't leave that hospital, and don't let anyone else near Mark. Understood. Understood, I said. 30 minutes later, Catherine arrived at the hospital with a briefcase full of papers. We sat in a private waiting room while Mom stayed with Mark. Tell me everything, I said. Catherine opened her briefcase. Mark's lawyer called me this afternoon. He wanted to inform me that Mark updated his will 3 months ago. According to the new will, if Mark dies, his entire estate goes to someone named Rebecca Chen. 3 months ago, I repeated. That's when he was planning to divorce me. Exactly, Catherine said. He was preparing to leave you with nothing. But we're still married, I said. Doesn't that mean I get something? Under normal circumstances, yes. A spouse can't be completely written out of a will. But Mark's lawyer is claiming that you two were separated, that the marriage was already over. They're going to argue that Rebecca was his partner at the time of his death, not you. That's a lie, I said. We weren't separated. I only filed for divorce yesterday. I know, Catherine said. And that's what we'll argue in court. But Sarah, there's something else you need to know. Catherine pulled out another document. I did some digging into Mark's finances, like I said I would. And I found something very interesting. What? Mark has been moving money out of your joint accounts for the past 6 months. Small amounts at first, then bigger amounts. In total, he's transferred over $200,000 to a secret account. I felt sick. $200,000? Yes. Money that should have been marital property. Money that belonged to both of you. He's been hiding it from you. Where did all that money come from? I asked. We never had that much in savings. Catherine smiled grimly. That's the interesting part. I had my investigator look deeper. It turns out Mark has been embezzling money from his company. Small amounts over several years, but it adds up. Embezzling. I couldn't believe it. Mark was stealing from his company. Yes. And I'm guessing he was planning to use that money to start a new life with Rebecca. But now that he's in the hospital, his company is going to discover what he did. When they do, they'll press charges. My head was spinning. Mark wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal too. What does all this mean? I asked. It means several things, Catherine said. First, if Mark dies, his will might not matter because his estate will be seized to pay back the money he stole. Second, if he lives, he's going to face criminal charges. And third, none of this affects your lottery winnings. What do you mean? The $80 million you won is yours alone. Mark never knew about it, so it's not part of the marital estate. Even if he wakes up and tries to claim half, we can argue that the money came after the marriage was essentially over. Plus, with his affair and his embezzling, no judge will give him a penny. For the first time in days, I felt a small spark of hope. So Tommy and I will be okay? More than okay, Catherine said. You'll be very wealthy. And Mark will be very, very sorry. But I couldn't feel happy about it. Not with Mark lying in a hospital bed, maybe dying. Catherine, I know Mark did terrible things. But I don't want him to die. Tommy needs his father. I understand, Catherine said gently. But Sarah, you need to prepare yourself. If Mark doesn't wake up, things are going to get very complicated. Rebecca will fight for his estate. His company will come after whatever money he has left. It's going to be a mess. Then I guess we'd better hope he wakes up, I said. The next 2 days were the longest of my life. I stayed at the hospital almost constantly, only leaving to shower and check on Tommy. Mom brought Tommy to visit once, but I didn't let him see Mark. I didn't want Tommy to see his father like that, unconscious, hooked up to machines. On the 3rd day, the doctors decided to try bringing Mark out of the coma. They warned me that there could be brain damage. He might not remember things. He might not be the same person. I sat by his bed, holding his hand, as they reduced the medications. Hours passed. Then, finally, Mark's eyes opened. Mark, I said. Can you hear me? Mark looked around, confused. His eyes found mine. Sarah. His voice was weak and raspy. Yes, I'm here, I said. Tears were rolling down my face. You had a heart attack. You're in the hospital. Mark tried to sit up but couldn't. What? What happened? You collapsed at work 3 days ago, I explained. You needed emergency surgery. Mark closed his eyes. I remember. I was stressed. So stressed. About everything. Just rest now, I said. Don't try to talk. But Mark opened his eyes again. He looked at me with tears forming. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For Rebecca. For the lies. For wanting to leave you. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to forgive him. Part of me was still so angry. We can talk about that later, I said. Right now, you need to focus on getting better. No, Mark said. I need to say this now. In case something happens to me. He took a shaky breath. I was wrong. About everything. Rebecca didn't make me happy. She just made me feel young and exciting. But that's not real. That's not love. Mark, please let me finish, he said. When I was in the coma, I had dreams. About you and Tommy. About our life together. All the good times. And I realized what a fool I'd been. I was throwing away everything that mattered for something that meant nothing. More tears rolled down his face. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. But I'm begging you, please don't let me lose Tommy. He's my son. I love him more than anything. I squeezed his hand. Mark, there's something you need to know. A lot has happened while you were unconscious. What do you mean? So I told him. About filing for divorce. About Catherine discovering the embezzlement. About the will he'd written leaving everything to Rebecca. Mark's face went pale. Oh God, what have I done? You made mistakes, I said. Big mistakes. I stole money, Mark said, his voice breaking. I'm going to prison, aren't I? Probably, I said honestly. Your company is already investigating. Catherine says they'll press charges. Mark started crying. Really crying. I destroyed everything. My marriage. My career. My life. And for what? For an affair that didn't even mean anything. I let him cry. What else could I do? After a while, Mark looked at me again. Sarah, I know I have no right to ask this. But is there any chance at all, that you might forgive me someday? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Did I still love Mark? I didn't know. Could I forgive him? Maybe, eventually. But could we ever be married again? Could we ever be a family like before? No. That was impossible. Too much had happened. Too much trust had been broken. Mark, I said gently, I don't hate you. And I don't want you to die or go to prison. But our marriage is over. You killed it when you chose Rebecca. When you lied to me for 6 months. When you were ready to leave me and Tommy with nothing. I know, Mark whispered. But, I continued, Tommy needs his father. So when you get out of this hospital, when you deal with your legal problems, I want you to still be part of Tommy's life. Can you do that? Yes, Mark said. Yes, I promise. Good, I said. I stood up to leave. Sarah, wait, Mark said. There's one more thing I need to know. How? How are you going to survive financially? I know you don't have any money. I know I left you with nothing. I'm so sorry about that. I smiled. For the first time in days, I smiled for real. Actually, Mark, I'm going to be just fine. What do you mean? He asked. Remember that insurance lottery that you entered us into 6 months ago? Mark's eyes widened. No. No way. Yes way, I said. I won. $80 million. Mark's mouth fell open. He couldn't speak. I won it the same day I found out about your affair, I continued. I was coming to your office to surprise you with the good news. That's when I heard you with Rebecca. 80 million? Mark stammered. Yes. And it's all mine, Mark. Every penny. You'll never see $1 of it. Neither will Rebecca. Mark just stared at me in shock. So you don't need to worry about me or Tommy, I said. We're going to be more than fine. We're going to be wonderful. Without you. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Mark. I hope you enjoy prison. Think about Rebecca while you're there. Think about whether she was worth losing everything. I left the hospital room and didn't look back. 3 months later, everything had changed. Mark recovered from his heart attack and was arrested for embezzlement. He pleaded guilty and received a 5-year prison sentence. Rebecca immediately broke up with him when she found out he was broke and going to prison. Turned out she didn't love him that much after all. Tommy and I moved into a beautiful new house with a huge backyard. I hired a good therapist to help Tommy deal with his father going to prison. It was hard on him, but kids are resilient. He was adjusting. I used some of the lottery money to start a foundation helping single mothers get back on their feet. I also went back to school to finish my degree. For the first time in 8 years, I was doing something for myself. Mark was allowed to call Tommy from prison once a week. I made sure Tommy talked to his father because, despite everything, Mark was still his dad. But I never talked to Mark myself. We communicated only through lawyers about custody and child support. One afternoon, I was in my new kitchen making Tommy's favorite chocolate chip pancakes when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Catherine standing there with champagne and a huge smile. What's this? I asked. Celebration, Catherine said, coming inside. The divorce was finalized today. It's official. You're free. I took the divorce papers from her and looked at them. It was really over. 8 years of marriage ended with a signature on paper. I expected to feel sad. But I didn't. I felt relieved. Free. Like I could finally breathe again. Also, Catherine said, popping the champagne, I have more good news. Rebecca tried to sue you for part of the lottery money, claiming Mark would have shared it with her. What? I said. That's ridiculous. I know. The judge threw it out. She gets nothing. You get everything. Catherine poured 2 glasses and handed one to me. Sarah Miller, you survived one of the worst betrayals a woman can face. And you came out stronger, richer, and wiser. That deserves a toast. We clinked glasses. To new beginnings, Catherine said. To new beginnings, I repeated. Tommy came running into the kitchen. Mommy, can we go to the park? I looked at my son. Happy, healthy, safe. Everything I'd gone through, all the pain and heartbreak, it had been worth it to give him a good life. Yes, baby. We can go to the park. As we walked to the park, Tommy holding my hand and talking excitedly about his day, I thought about everything that had happened. The affair. The heart attack. The divorce. The $80 million. Life had a funny way of working out. On the day I'd won $80 million, I thought it was the best day of my life. But then I discovered my husband's betrayal, and it became the worst day. But now, 3 months later, I realized that day was actually both. It was the day my old life ended and my new life began. I didn't need Mark anymore. I didn't need anyone to make me feel valuable or important. I had Tommy. I had money. I had freedom. And most importantly, I had myself. The woman who used to be scared and weak was gone. In her place was someone new. Someone strong. Someone who could handle anything life threw at her. As Tommy laughed and ran toward the playground, I smiled. Yes, my husband had betrayed me. Yes, he'd broken my heart and tried to destroy my life. But I'd won anyway. Not just the lottery. I'd won everything. I'd won my freedom. My dignity. My future. And that was worth more than $80 million. That was priceless.